All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here for a special edition for this year's U.S. Open. Rob is currently across the pond. He had to visit the motherland. I think it's more so he's trying to avoid putting his golf picks out there to the public.
Oh
He's
yeah.
been he's been pretty ice cold, but we're joined by another Paisan, so have no fear. Nick, thank you for stepping in on this one.
Thank you. Absolutely, I'm glad to fill Robert's spot. If he doesn't come back, I'd be happy to take a permanent position.
We'll see how this one goes before. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. Um, I do have to say you have run for, I would say, almost the better part of a decade, maybe the most sought after major pool in the continental US.
Yeah, I've
So,
been I've been doing this for a long time, and I mean for the Masters we've got well over 120 people. So it's growing every year. Unfortunately, my picks get worse every year.
I
I've yet
have
to be in
had
the
a
pool
couple people text me about that, Nicholas. Uh,
yeah.
people are like, a tale as old as time is Nick Pham at the bottom of the Masters pool.
I think for the PGA, after 30 minutes after the tournament started, I was already in dead last.
Yeah, I love peaking around noon Thursday afternoon, and then it's just like I slowly teeter off.
Right.
But we got a good one coming up. But before we get into that, we have to touch base, and I really want to know how you feel about this live golf controversy. Because I have a couple thoughts that, like, do you feel like the PGA Tour is like kind of whining a little too much?
I guess, but at the same time, I feel like a lot of players are coming to bat for the PGA Tour, which I wasn't expecting.
Hmm.
Um, I thought they would kind of just keep their mouth shut, but it's starting to get a little, I feel like a little heated
Yeah,
internally between the players. I mean, you see McElroy kind of throwing that jab at what's his name, the head of the
Greg
live,
Norman.
Greg Norman, after he had that win last week. I mean, I get it for some of the older guys like Phil, Louis Oosthuizen. I mean, they did their time. I mean, Oosthuizen's still kind of young, but like Phil, he's won majors. He's played a lot in the PGA Tour. He's been there for a while, so this is something new for him. I mean, Phil's also a big gambling money guy, so right when they wrote him a check for 200 million, he was hopped on board. But for the younger guys, you grow up trying to win those PGA tournaments, watching Tiger Woods and all the greats playing on the PGA Tour. So I feel like you would want to be amongst the greats by playing in the PGA Tour, but it seems like money got the best of them. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
It's iffy.
it's I understand both sides' arguments. The only gripe I have with the coverage guys and the head people at the PGA Tour is they're trying to take shots at the morals of the Saudis
Right,
backing it.
right,
And I'm sitting there, I'm like, this is coming from an old white elitist group of people. I'm
right,
like, I didn't hear those moral conversations when the Masters were giving African Americans and women a hard time.
right.
So it's like
Exactly.
you can't pick that fight right now. And trust me, no one is going to feel bad for old white dudes when you start talking about the immorality of a culture.
Right.
That's my only gripe with it.
I feel like they could have came together and made an agreement with the tour and live to, coincide with each other. I mean, they both could have profited off of it. I mean, you
Mhm,
see the world golf or the was it the match play. That's a completely different tour. They've taken the
mhm.
PGA has taken in a couple of those tournaments. There's about 5 or 6 of them I want to say throughout the year. I mean, they definitely could have done that with Live. Um, I don't know. It just seems like a big drama fest now, and I feel like players are kind of getting sick of it. I just watched a video of Brooks Koepka getting asked
Yeah.
about the U.S. Open, and he's like, "I just want to talk about the U.S. Open." So I don't know. I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out.
I think it's going to play out more like an XFL to NFL type of thing.
Exactly. Yeah,
But
that's a good.
what I hope happens is Live doesn't make it too far, but it does force the PGA to make some changes and get better itself.
True.
Because I don't want to see tournaments split where I have half the world's best playing over here and half the world's best playing over here. Nobody wants to see that.
the good thing is the majors, they're all out back, which I
Yeah.
think is the PGA Tour probably likes that because there's a lot more drama this week. I mean, all those players that essentially were cast out as outcasts are back in with the mix with everybody this week, and it's really the first week that's going to happen. So again, PGA Tour is probably going to like it because of the ratings.
Oh, 100%. This will be the best ratings they've ever had without Tiger.
Oh, for sure.
And I don't even think that's a debate. But there's a bigger controversy, and it's hitting closer to home. and we have to touch base on this because I think it's like a buyer beware situation. And I want you just to give a quick synopsis on what you're going through with FanDuel.
For sure. So I think this would be a good warning to gamblers out there that bet parlay golfs on FanDuel. So 2 weeks ago, I had a 6-leg parlay, and it was all like top 10s, top 20s, one top 40, and I hit the whole parlay. It was $60 to win $3,600, and it hit. And I was waiting for my payout. All of a sudden, that $3,600 turned into a $130 payout. So I was like, what's going on? So there's this dead heat rule that if there's multiple players tied, so for example, I had 3 players top 20. Well, there was technically 24 people in the top 20 because of ties. So what they did is they lowered my odds, stripped those 3 legs out of the parlay, and just decided to pay me less.
Well, hold on. You left out the most important part, I think, of this entire conversation. They tied for top 18th.
Correct. Yeah, I forgot to mention that. So those 3 players that were top 20 tied for 18th. Mm-hmm. And that dead heat rule, I understand. I mean, I get it. You know, they have to lower the odds. There's more players. But the one thing that I'm still arguing with them on is that why they pulled them out of the parlay and turned them into the own individual bet, because that lowered my odds drastically. I've been going back and forth with FanDuel. I mean, if it was a couple bucks, I'd probably let it go, but $3,600 is a lot of money. So
absolutely not. They don't deserve to keep it.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter how much it is. It's not theirs.
Right. So
that's how I
would just say a fair warning to golfers: if you parlay golf picks on FanDuel, just beware of the dead heat rule. Maybe read into it a little more. No other platform lets you parlay golf picks like top 5, top 10, top 20. FanDuel does, but obviously do it because they know that they're never going to pay you out.
Yeah, there's ties at all of those spots.
Right. So one of the message the guy sent back to me on FanDuel was like, hopefully there's not as many ties next time you do this bet. I was like, yeah, thanks, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's ratty. Especially when your golfers land and tie for a position better than 20th.
Right.
So like the whole thing is sketchy to me. So this is a public service announcement. We are all boycotting FanDuel Sportsbook until this situation's resolved.
Right. Or at least till my money gets out so they don't freeze my account.
You've let me know. All right, let's get into what might be it's really tough to say what the best tournament is, but this is a really good one because you see the golfers look human a lot throughout the weekend.
Correct. So I would say, I mean, right off the bat, the Masters is my favorite tournament, but the U.S. Open is definitely my second best because they tried to absolutely destroy these golfers for this tournament. It's just, you know, everything. The USGA comes to the course a year in advance. They redirect certain holes. They come in and do it their way, and they try to make it where these players just have no shot. And I feel like it gets harder and harder every year.
Yeah. I think about the one that Bryson won, and that one was an absolute bloodbath. And all the videos and coverage I'm seeing about this course right now and how it's going to play, I think you're going to see a couple of holes where I don't think double and triple bogey are going to be few and far between. I think you're going to see quite a few of them. And
for sure,
I don't see the winner being shooting better than -5. You said 6 on the weekend.
I agree.
I just feel like this one's going to be about grit and accuracy.
I agree. So With distance, the distance with these guys, it doesn't matter. I mean, I remember one U.S. Open was 7,800 yards. Distance isn't anything to these guys. It's the rough and it's the greens. And the U.S. Open is known for letting that rough grow ridiculous, very long. Edit that out. Very long. Where, I mean, you see a video of a guy just drop a ball a few feet off the ground and the ball's buried. So you have to be accurate off the tee, and then you have to be able to putt. I mean, you remember that one video, the famous Phil video, where he tapped the putt. It was going all the way off the green. And instead of letting it go, he went and just took the 2-stroke penalty for hitting it back, just to kind of prove to the U.S. Open that, you know, these greens are ridiculous.
See, but I like that we get, I guess, an opportunity to see these guys lose their cool in what is, in your opinion, the second best tournament of the year.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was at the last one, and it didn't look like that course was remotely close to the condition this one's in.
Correct. I mean, so like you said, it's all about that rough too. I mean, it's off the tee is. I mean, if they have to hack it out there, I mean, it's the stroke, and then they haven't even touched the green yet. Where, you know, 3 putts are very easy for these guys. During U.S. Open conditions.
Well, I think you already touched on what we view as some of the most important aspects of this tournament for a golfer, and that's driving accuracy. I think, to me personally, tee to green is going to be extremely important, because if you're not on greens in regulation, you're going to be in big trouble with how tough the greens are, with how long the rough is. So you're going to be penalized majorly if you're not on the greens in regulation.
No, I agree. And to that point, I'd add on to that is that's so true, because even if you're around the green and you're in that rough and you have no control of that ball with your short game on those greens, I mean, going up and down is going to be very tough for these guys. So like you said, driving accuracy and green in regulation. Even if you're 50 feet from the pin, you'd rather be that than, you know, 12 feet from the pin in the rough, right off the rough.
You could easily be just pinballing across the green for 20 minutes and holding up the groups behind you, which we all know too well. I have one guy, and I've said this in a million golf podcasts with Rob, but he keeps coming up in all of the models I put together, and it's Xander Schauffele. He fits all the molds. Will he pull through for me? Probably not. I might have to send this guy an invoice at some point, because I just keep putting faith into him, but he might be one of my favorite golfers going into this weekend.
I agree. He's one of those guys where he's just always up there. He may not necessarily be getting the win, but he's always at the top. I mean, I feel like I just see his name in the leaderboard all the time. I mean, I know he's had a couple top 10 finishes this year. He might have won one tournament, I forget, but he's always up there. He's very consistent. I would call him that. Consistent is the best way to put it.
Yeah, he always looks pretty calm too when things aren't going his way. Like, I feel like he does a good job of keeping his composure, which is something you're going to have to do at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, for sure.
So if he brings his good stuff this week, I could definitely see him getting a lot of coverage on Sunday. I have 2 guys that I have no idea whether they're going to make the cut, because it could go completely sour for them, but they fit all the molds as well. Every model I run, those 2 names are there. And that's Matt Fitzpatrick. I'm getting him at 30-1, and it's Sung J M, and that's at 40-1. 2 guys that are consistent off the tee. Matt Fitzpatrick, I feel like, fits the mold for a gritty course like this. Sung J M has great iron, so if he can get on the green in regulation, I feel like you can definitely see him on Sunday. Those are the 3 guys I really like when you go into the analytics stuff. I also have one gut play, and it's Colin Morikawa. And I'm putting 1.5 unit on Colin Morikawa at 30-1. I mean, that's a really good number for Colin Morikawa.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Colin's always usually up there. He's a good player. I like him. I mean, he won the PGA, so he knows what it's like to play in a major. I think that's important. is these guys could be playing all year, but I think the most important thing is like how they play in majors, how they play in majors last year. Back to your thing with the statistics, one player who I was kind of iffy with, he kind of screwed me in the Masters. He crawled back in the PGA. He was tied for 9th in the PGA. And why I like him for this tournament is because he's ranked 3rd right now in the PGA in driving accuracy. And that's Abraham Answer.
That's a good name. Wow, I feel like Rob never left. He loves Abraham Answer. That's one of his guys.
Like I said, he kind of screwed me in the Masters. He crawled back at the PGA, tied for 9th. I mean, his driving accuracy, he's been playing well the past couple tournaments. So I like him going into this U.S. Open.
I mean, he's a hell of a golfer. And he's one of those guys that's definitely waiting to make that breakthrough and get a big victory. I mean, he's just been lingering, like you said, like with Xander, always in the top 10. Abe's always in the top 10, top 20 of pretty much every tournament I see him tee off in. And he's like another guy out of like 10 that's just waiting to get that one tournament that makes him a household name. One dude that I would love this tournament, I can't bet him to win it outright, but he fits the mold and his demeanor, Shane Lowry. He can be creative and he can take a
laugh every time I just hear that guy's name because he just doesn't. He looks like he kind of reminds me of like a John Daly, but somehow he always is up on that leaderboard. He gets that stomach around that ball somehow, which is crazy to me.
I feel like Louis kind of overshadows Shane Lowry because Louis last year was always in the leaderboard, like finishing in 2nd place in like every big tournament. But then it was like right after him was Shane Lowry.
Right.
And Shane Lowry's always around in the big moment. He's won a major. And I feel like this course, I don't think this course caters to anybody's game. But if there's somebody that can kind of weather the storms that are going to come, it'd be Shane Lowry.
Yeah. Now, Shane Lowry is definitely always he always has a couple hot days. Like I remember, just thinking back on some of his tournaments, he'll come out and kill it on Saturday and then flop on Sunday. If he just gets his game together, he definitely has a shot for the win.
Yeah. If he could string it together for a weekend, that's the thing. Like 36 holes, you just be in contention going into Saturday, grind out Saturday, and then find it on Sunday. You can definitely win this tournament.
Yeah. One dark horse I contemplated picking, which I thought this guy fell off the face of the earth. I never thought I probably thought I see him a couple spotty tournaments, but he crawled back this year and he's been in some of the top 10. What does he have? 5 top 10s, 7 top 25s. He's made 15 cuts. Is Keegan Bradley.
Nicholas, I have him leader after round 1.
Yeah.
60-1.
I thought, like I said, I thought he was done. I thought his career was done. I thought he'd just be one of those guys that makes a cut, plays in a tournament here or there. He kind of kicked it back this year, and he's been up at the leaderboard a lot this year. He was 5th in the Players' Championship, which is the biggest field in golf, and he finished top 5 in the Players. I think he has a good shot at this U.S. Open if he keeps it together.
And the Players' Championship, if I'm not mistaken, he had the tough draw of weather. I'll have to double check, but I'm pretty sure he was in that draw of the one grouping that just got screwed with all the weather. And he was able to grind that out. And I mean, to me, that might be my second favorite tournament just because up until Live was the biggest payout in golf.
Right.
So, those dudes care a lot.
Right.
And apparently Keegan Bradley is the local superstar. So I see him kind of playing up to that at times, and then pressure kind of getting to him at times. So it really just kind of depends on when he peaks and when he plummets.
Yeah, that's the thing is like some of these guys could be playing well, but it all comes down to like how they handle themselves in the majors. Especially now this weekend, like I said, with the Live controversy and everything on, there's a lot more pressure on these guys.
Yeah, a lot more cameras, a lot more people care than they ever have. But the cream rises to the top in these situations.
Right.
And how do you feel about Mito? I don't want to completely butcher his last name.
We'll call him P. I know it was last name P. Call him Mito P.
Yeah, Mito P. We'll call him Mito P.
I saw him. He was favorite. I mean, I personally think he was kind of a one and done kind of character.
Yeah.
He had it, he blew it on the PGA on that last hole.
Mhm.
I personally think that's going to haunt him forever. It would haunt me. He didn't even make a bogey to put himself into the playoff. He made a double.
I know.
And that was a big thing is should he hit driver off the tee? I mean, I agree. He should have hit driver off the tee. He's a professional. He just played that hole, or he's played it how many times that week. But I think if he has a shot, or even if he's in the lead going into Sunday, he's going to drop like a rock in a pond.
Yeah. My issue with it now that the market's so saturated with him that like you're not getting a fair number.
Right.
His realistic odds should be way more in our favor than they are.
Yeah.
And I can't say anything because I've crumbled at Paxson on 18. Yeah. That guy, you have to be feeling something in your bones.
Oh, yeah. I think if I was on the 18th hole for the lead, I'd probably just faint.
And he's passed out.
And he's done. Who else I like? Which he kind of he fell off this year, but I think he gets a top 5 in this U.S. Open. Definitely a top 10 is Tommy Fleetwood. He's had a rough couple of years. He's crawled back this year. He's had a couple top 10s. I've even watched interviews with him where he admitted that he fell off, and he had a swing change this year, and he's been up there and he's been playing a lot. So I think Tommy Fleetwood's up there. He's kind of like my dark horse. I like him.
He had a decent showing at the Masters, if I'm not mistaken. Like I know there wasn't a ton of coverage on him on Sunday because they refused to show other shots. That's something I want Live Golf to fix because Live is just live on YouTube. You get full coverage of everything. The PGA, I actually remember with the Masters, we didn't even see Scotty Scheffler tee off.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. The one good thing about the U.S. Open is they start the coverage early. I mean, I hate when you're sitting there on Sunday waiting for 3:30 to get like the full live coverage.
It's like you have guys in contention on the third hole. It's like, let me watch them play.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Justin Thomas is a perfect example with the PGA Championship. How much was he down on Sunday? He was 7 back. They probably weren't showing him half the day. Maybe like a putt or something here or there.
I mean, you had I do remember because that was the only guy I bet outright to win that tournament. If you caught him when he was 7 back, you got him at 500 to 1 on Sunday. That's a damn good number.
Yeah.
Sadly, I got him at 80 to 1, so I didn't get to cash out that much. But that was an unreal performance by him. I mean, just stick around. You never know what's going to happen to the guys ahead of you. You play your game. And I feel like that's the type of mentality these guys are going to need going into Sunday and being on the back 9 on Sunday because you never know. It could only take one shot, and you go from 4th place to tied for 2nd, and then one more shot, and then you're tied for 1st.
Exactly. I mean, Justin Thomas was a perfect example of that. I mean, and to be honest, I mean, you have to bet him to win. He is just playing unbelievable right now. I mean, he can handle the pressure. He's won the PGA. He crawled back. His game's on top. He's one of the few players that has Tiger Woods as a mentor. I'm not sure if you pay attention to that, but players talk about it. Him and Tiger calls him his little brother. So he has one of the best mental athletes of all time and golfers of all time, coaching them, texting them. So I think you'd be nuts not to at least throw some money on Justin Thomas. The odds aren't going to be great, but he's just playing so good, it's hard not to bet for him.
No, I'm with you. And I think if there's somebody so with this whole Live controversy, and it's annoying that this has actually become such a thing in going into the U.S. Open. I don't like to keep harping on it, but with this whole Live controversy, so Rory's talking quite a lot about it.
Yeah.
I could see Rory being somebody to miss the cut because now all the golf experts love backing Rory going in the U.S. Open, and I find that to be the kiss of death.
No,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say I agree.
Yeah, it's like whoever they all co-sign going into a tournament, 9 out of 10 times misses the cut.
Right.
And Rory's playing unreal. Watched him on Sunday. He looked as good as I've ever seen him play golf.
His wedge game was probably some of the best I've ever seen. It was unbelievable. The part that like I like Rory, I just have a hard time picking him because sometimes he's inconsistent. He's having a good year this year, but what I noticed on Sunday is if you watch, his short game was good. I mean, sorry, his chipping was good, but he missed a couple of those little 3-footers, 4-footers in the U.S. Open. I mean, there's a lot more breaks to those 3-footers and 4-footers. So I don't know. I mean, he could show up, he could be cut, but I don't know. I don't know if he's going to put it together back to back.
Yeah, I mean, what's so hard to repeat on the PGA? Like, the last thing I would want to do going into a major is win the tournament before. Granted, I know he cashed a fat check,
Right.
so win them when you can, but that's not the time that I would choose. But there's one guy, like you're talking about Justin Thomas, he is that dude that has that mentality and is kind of a dog. Right. Where it's like, all right, I'm going to stick one to all these guys that are acting like Benedict Arnold and join this other tour. I'm going to win this tournament. So I wouldn't be surprised if JT does win it, because when he's on, to me, he's the best golfer when he brings his good stuff.
I mean, yeah, you just look at him at the PG or for the PGA Championship. It was that was unbelievable that he was able to pull back like that. I mean, think about not giving up. I mean, you were 7 or 8 back or whatever he was, and then pull through with the win. He's just playing too good right now.
He is. So I like throwing a couple first-round leaders out there because you get good numbers. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be a couple guys that go really low tomorrow. And I know one person on my list is somebody you've talked about before, and that's Cam Young. So I already put a half a unit on Cameron Young at 50-1. That's a guy that's playing good golf right now.
He is. He absolutely humbles the ball too. I think he's like one of the longest drivers on the tour. I mean, like I said before, distance isn't nothing to these guys, but if he can put it together, I think he could be there at the top. One thing I would try to pay attention to, I don't know if anyone ever does it, is maybe look at the tee times. Mm-hmm. Because some of these guys talk about that the worst people to play in front of is the McIlroy. I remember people used to say about Tiger Woods, is because you have crowds moving. You have big crowds with you if you're near McIlroy, Thomas. Plus, if you're playing with them, what if a Cam Young's paired up with, a McIlroy? Is he going to play as well? There's a lot more eyes on him now. I also think that's something to look at with these first-round leaders, is maybe look for those good players that, might not have a lot of attention on them the first day.
I think that's a really good point. I actually try to look at the tee times and the guys that are going to be that I like targeting people that are going to tee off later and then first thing in the morning on Friday. I find that those guys that don't have that huge gap in between when they're playing, typically, so it's like you get off the course, you go home, eat, wake up, and then you get back on the course. You don't have time to think about it. You just keep playing golf. But that's a really good angle, and that's something that's going to take some serious knowledge on how to deep dive into. That's not analytics. That you're going to have to know how to navigate a lot of different channels.
I remember there was a couple guys that I would bet that, playing well all year, or I'd pick them in the pool, and then they were paired up with Tiger Woods, or they were Tiger Woods front and back, or Tiger Woods is ahead or right behind them, and they shit the bed. So I think that has something to do with it. Players talked about a lot, like I said, especially with the crowds moving and everything. So you never know. It's kind of a out of the box theory.
Yeah, well, if you're not used to having that much attention on you, the first couple times, it's definitely going to be a different experience.
Right.
Exactly. Like, there's no way that you can even deny that it's different when you have a crowd following Tiger and you're the group behind him or in front of him. There's so many more people watching everything you're doing. Right. So I think that is definitely an angle. I'm going to look into how we can get that type of information, because I think that's pretty spectacular. Yeah, besides what we said, I love Tom Hoge because that just looks like a blue blood American.
It does.
He looks like a good Delco guy, has been working the trades for like 30 years, but is just an absolute stick. And I have him at top.
He shows up once in a while, and then when he shows up, he plays well.
I mean, he's gritty. Like, he can take a punch. That dude looks like he's been in a couple bar fights too. Like, he can definitely take a punch. I have him at plus 1100 on DraftKings at the top 10. And I really like that number for him because if he can take the punches this week, I could definitely see him lingering. I don't see him winning it, but once again, I can see Tom Hoagie's name being mentioned going into Sunday. And that's really all you need.
Yeah, no, I agree. He definitely can show up at some tournaments. Another player I was thinking about, which is obviously a no name, is I wonder if Spieth shows up this weekend. He's had his year. This is kind of his comeback year. You know, he was in the dumps for a couple of years. He had a drought. Looks like he had a swing change. He's won a tournament. He's been at those leaderboards. I mean, he's won a U.S. Open. I mean, you have to throw money on Spieth? But that's what I feel like is you just keep naming people. There's so many good people. But I mean, he's been on the ball this year. He's kind of a head case. He gets in his own head, but he's felt this pressure before. He's played these type of courses, so he definitely can get the W this weekend. I think
he definitely could. My third most important, I guess, aspect of this week is scrambling, and he's one of the kings of it.
For sure.
I mean, he's one of the best at getting himself out of a tough situation. I just haven't seen enough of him to like just feel like he's fully rejuvenated back into like the peak of his career. I just don't think I'm ready to say that. He's not somebody that I'm willing to put money on, but I'm not mad at anybody saying that they feel good about Jordan Spieth this weekend.
Yeah. But another one too is I know I forget if he's your or Rob's favorite. Might be yours or one of your guys' favorite. And I think he's number one in putting accuracy on the tour right now is Cameron Smith. Even though I'd like to give him a haircut and shave his little mustache.
Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
Putts well. So do you go with Cam Smith at least top 10 or top 20? Because he's the best putter on tour right now. And the U.S. Open is known for, killing people on the greens with putts.
I mean, you never count that guy out at the Players Championship. His stats it was actually Monday, but his stats on Monday were absurd within 100 and his putting. I think he only two putted maybe 3 holes the entire round on Monday, which is insane.
Yeah.
So if he's on, I could definitely I love Cam Smith. He's one of my favorite golfers. It's me. It's not Robert. That's a goofy looking dude. Yeah. But when he's on and he's dangerous, and if he's sinking putts, but the issue with these big tournaments is like you have these guys that aren't the best putters throughout the course of the season. But if you can just find that for a couple of days, that can separate you from the rest of the pack. But Cam Smith is always a guy that I love to see at the top of the leaderboard, and he's right there.
Yeah.
But after that, dude, I got to give Rob's picks. He requested that we put these out to the general public. He's got Shane Lowry, Colin Morikawa, both outright for half a unit, and Ryan Fox at a top 10. And he has Ryan Fox at 22-1. I also have Ryan Fox first round leader at plus 15,000 for half a unit. That's an official play. Are there any other plays that you feel good about putting out there?
I would say I have an anti-play.
Okay.
And my anti-play is I would stay away from a lot of the old heads this U.S. Open. Maybe, like I said, is if they're in the rough, they just don't have the power that these younger guys have to get it close to the green. You might see like a Zach Johnson come out hot round one, but those older guys always fall off. It's because every day the course is getting tougher. They might make it a little longer. The pin placements get tougher. So with these tournaments or the U.S. Open, I always stay away from those old heads. I could be wrong, but just based off the course conditions, it's tough for those guys.
So we're going to see the oldest U.S. Open winner in history this year. No, well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you stepping in. I enjoyed this. And all the plays, we'll have them out on Twitter. Follow us on the socials. And don't do the FanDuel parlays.
Don't do it.
Even if you hit it, you're going to get hosed.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, enjoy the U.S. Open.
See you, everyone.